And many of us, if I said, if you're living consciously and you have spiritual practice and you absolutely desire to be the best becoming of you, the next greatest iteration of yourself possible, we'd all raise our hands. And it's true. And the encouragement today is to see, even with that I'm being, that I'm doing, that I know to do, how to dial it up, how to dial up the luminosity of our faith, the luminosity of our giving, the luminosity of our being, our becoming. And in the context of this series that we're beginning today, prayer, prayer as a living expression, prayer as compassion. So think about what your prayer is when you are feeling overwhelmed, stressed, concerned, undone, ungrounded, disconnected, whatever word you would give to it. What prayer comes to mind that you may have prayed or had somebody to pray with you or memorized as a small child, even? How do you pray for your own self-compassion when you need to feel connected, when you need awareness and are longing for the awareness of God as you? How do you pray? What prayer would you say? What words would you speak? So I learned, as I had a Sunday school teacher who would, and my family didn't go to church. I wanted to go to church. So I told my mom, hey, I want to start going to church. And in her classic Virginia Creek way, she said, well, find you a way to church then. Find somebody to take you to church. So I started calling up the neighbors to see, do y'all go to church? And where do you go to church? Can I go to church with you? And I was able to go along with the people that I love very much that was neighbors of ours. And my Sunday school teacher saw, recognized something about me. And she asked me to start memorizing scriptures. And they were very, very helpful to me, praying certain scriptures when I got afraid or worried or panicky or doubtful, when I felt disconnected, that included the traditional prayers of the 23rd Psalms. And I memorized it. And she asked me to, and then she had me to stand up and say it one Sunday there. So that made it important for me that I not only said it and memorized it, but I got some embodiment from that prayer, a deep connection, an immediate return to my highest self through a compassionate prayer for myself, praying for myself. Now, most of us here have prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed for others. So today, the invitation is to absolutely continue to do that and dial it up, and to add a deep, devotional, compassionate prayer for you, for each of you, for yourself. And what would you pray for? And what I believe about prayer, and of course, I don't ask you to believe this, you've got your own ways of being and your own ways of believing, that you can't pray wrongly. The invitation today is to continue all of our prayers for others, of course, and to dial up that during this period of this high auspicious holy time that we're in, a holier time, if there is such a thing as a holier time. This is clearly a time of need right now. This time, November and December annually, whether it's moon cycles, sun cycles, whatever it is, there's higher reportings psychologically and in the medicine around deeper depressions, more despair, loneliness, cutoff, grief, and people are have a generally a more difficult time, even high functioning people during this time. So to continue to pray for others every time you can, every chance you get, and to add prayer for yourself. To pray for yourself, with yourself, as compassionate prayer. And this would be then guiding this is to live prayerfully, to use prayer purposefully in the direction of more peaceful, compassionate living. So prayerful, purposeful, peaceful as our lighthouses of this. So acknowledging that prayer, as Dr. Charles said earlier, he was calling for prayer when he reached out. To do that for yourself. Reach out to somebody, reach out to him, reach out to me, reach out to somebody here and say, I could use a little uplift here. I could use some remembering. I could use a connection with somebody who I believe believes, who is on solid ground. So this longing of our soul for prayer is wired in us, whatever you call it, relief, faith, love, enthusiasm, letting go, whatever. This is a longing of our soul. And it is better in prayer, as I said, maybe that's what Rosie was asking for, to absolutely shift the belief, if you can, that you can pray wrongfully. There is, I believe sincerely that there is no wrong way to pray, although others don't agree with that. And they teach very specific ways to pray from this longing, this devotional longing of our heart to connect to what we are. So God hasn't moved. Our awareness shifts. Life gets in the way. We become concerned with certain wiring of the brain, fear, doubt, worry take over. That longing for us to remember who we are, the truth of us, is always there. So it's better in prayer to have a heart without words than words without a heart. So think about this from our place in our practice of compassion, that whatever I pray will be with heart, and it may not have any words to it. Let that be okay. That I pray and no words came, so be it. The heart matters, not the words matter. And Gandhi said it something like that, but I don't recall exactly how he said it, but it helped me, like a silent prayer. And others say, Meister Eckhart said it, if you only say thank you, that's enough of a prayer. So thank you that I have a mindfulness to remember, a thankfulness that I can have a pause here, thankful that there's someone to reach out to, and thankful if somebody's not there that I've reached out to, that I can take 3 deep breaths and hand on my own heart and come back to a compassionate prayer for myself, that I can do for myself what I was wanting someone else to do for me. So if they're available, score. If they do it, score. And if they haven't, then what else can I do that would renew and awaken me to my own connection to the divine within and as me? So in New Thought, prayer is seen as a conscious connection to spirit, to creator, to universe, to mind, to what is eternal and infinite about us, and aligning our heart with that. So compassion begins with this remembering, with this awareness that I am that I am. So just a few words sometimes. God is, I am that I am. Maybe enough. Prayer as compassion means bearing the burdens of others also, not from pity or superiority, but from a space of love, a space of we're one, a space of solidarity, a space of I can relate. And even though I may not have experienced directly what somebody else is going through, I can relate to it based on some part of my heart that imagines what it would be like to be in such a loss as this. So it is the practice of seeing the divinity in all beings and in their circumstances. And it's extremely hard to do at times, even for those of us who have been practiced for decades, still practicing after decades of this, amongst the challenges of life. So just this morning, somebody notified me that their son had died unexpectedly, and the woman is in a second or third round of breast cancer, and the man nearly disabled and immobilized with an issue in his neck. And they're like, I can't relate to God. Like, where's God in all of this? So all of us have had this question. If our belief in God is based on our young imaginations around God, like God is a Santa Claus, or God is a vending machine where I put in my penance and out comes my wants and out comes what I'm dreaming of, versus God as reality. God is Alpha and Omega. God is all that is. God in the illness and the wellness. God in when I get included and God in when I get excluded. God in when it goes my way and God in when it doesn't go my way. So this is a different territory. This is a different portal of being. So living prayerfully then as a spiritual practice, then purposeful prayer so that I don't wait. A woman said to me yesterday, it's the dangest thing, Martha. When you pray for me, I immediately feel better. And I said, well, are you praying for you? And she said, well, no. Like pray for myself. And I'm like, yes, pray for yourself. And Martha will pray with you too. Martha will pray for you too. And she got teary. It was very moving to her to hear the possibility that, oh, I can pray with and for myself. And she said, the truth is, Martha, I don't even pray until I'm in a crisis. It doesn't occur to me to pray until I'm in a crisis, which is true for many of us. And no shame about that, no guilt about that. That's the way we're wired up. And my direct experience is the more I pray when I'm not in a crisis, the less crisis I have. So the more I pray when things are going well, the more I pray to rewire my brain, the more I pray to remember my own divinity, the less crisis I experience, even when it's unraveling and coming loose at the seams. So then, how to pray when things are going well. And I have a little 3-minute of a rampage I do every now and then. And I put it in one of the newsletters recently. And if you want that, you just go over to marthacreek.com and put your name down there and your email, and that's all. And all you get from me is one time a month on the first day of the month, you get some of the teachings and some music or videos that uplift the teaching. So if you want that. And the minutes of gratitude is how I compassionately pray for myself. So if I notice myself getting irritated, frustrated, let down, disappointed, despaired, it's like, okay, I've got to have a minute of a gratitude rampage here. And it's not to spiritually bypass the emotions. The losses could still be there. The disappointment is there. The irritations are there, but it brings some balance to that. that I don't slide off into a deeper, deeper, deeper pit of that. So it's there too. And gratitude, gratitude that I am moving about in my body, gratitude that I experience the sunshine, gratitude for a bird on the feeder, gratitude for the little video that I get of that video, that I was able to pray today, that someone reached out for prayer, that I was able to serve humanity through prayer. Grateful, grateful for the love of this 9-year-old, grateful that I get to be a part of 2 or 3 spiritual communities nearly every Sunday. Grateful for technology, for recording. Grateful for their archives. Grateful that they make it out into YouTube. Grateful that my goals to get empowered teachings to the whole of the world are real, and that I'm moving in the direction of those goals. So that was 30 seconds or so. So a minute of gratitude to reawaken me to that that's not left me, but that to which I have lost awareness to. So gratitude transforms my perspective. Gratitude reminds me of my blessings. It reminds me, most importantly, of God's presence as me. That God is that has impressed in me the expression that I'm even serving right now in this moment. So reminding me of the presence of God as myself, as you. Silent prayer, I spoke about that. No words necessary, or a meditation to connect us to our inner sanctuary of peace. And silence allows us to let some of the noise of the mind and the mentation and the mental stream, let it be. Instead of jumping in with it, instead of trying to shut it down, to give it some space, and to see that I am the observer, observing the noise. There's space between me and the noise, so I immediately awaken to it's not who I am. That's activity of the mind. It's not who I am. So just shifting to an observer mode can give me some space and rest and ease and a doorway back to the truth of my own divine nature. A compassionate interrupting, not to shut it down, not to get it to go away, because it wins. Have you noticed? When you try to shut it down, what happens? So it's the opposite of that, to swing wide the door of that, to give it some space, and it will absolutely rise and pass. It likely won't pass quick enough for us, though. So just a few seconds with most feelings, regardless of how intense the feeling is, just swinging wide the door and making our heart a guest house for it. It's okay. I'm okay. It's welcome here. In just a few seconds, and certainly in minutes, any of the intense feelings will absolutely pass through. So then, not being at war, internal war, and not being at war with my own mind, that's not my own either. The belief systems, the patterning of our thinking is absolutely plenty to say, at a minimum, I'm going to be prayerfully more observing of the mentation, so less likely to mistake it for who I am. And one of the things that I do compassionately toward this goal is to speak in terms of it's a part of me. So instead of I'm angry, I'm mad, I'm irritated, I'm frustrated, I use words that there's a part of me that's angry. There's a part of me that's afraid. There's a part of me that was frustrated. There was a part of me having doubts about this. So just that languaging to remember that it's not who I am, that it's a part of me and it's an unhealed part of me, a part of me that has reasons to be afraid and a lot of experience that caused it to be afraid can then be compassionately prayed for and compassionately cared for as I move toward healing of those parts of me.
marthacreek.com if I can support you. Blessings.